Hey, good morning, everybody. It is so great to be with you all again. It's the morning briefing with Friedman Adventures. Hey, my voice. Anybody want to make a bet how long it's going to take for my voice to crack? Hopefully it'll make it through this morning's show. I hope you're doing great. It's always good to be with you, and here we are. It's a gorgeous weekend finished up in Southern California, now into Monday, and it is gorgeous. The weather offshore, inshore, up and down the coast is gorgeous right now. We may get a blow or two here in the very near future, but it's not going to be much, and for the most part, we're not going to see any of that. It's gorgeous, and there's so many good things going on that I'm going to get into you with on the morning briefing here today. First, though, I was down there at Dana Wharf sport fishing to send off a group of Friedman Adventures kids. Of course, the IGFA was involved in. We got to thank Friends of Raleigh for making not only this trip happen, but so many other trips. Getting kids into the outdoors, fishing has never been more important than it is in today's climate. It's so important to get kids out there, and my hat's off to Friends of Raleigh for doing such a great job. Donna, it was so good to see her at Dana Wharf Sport Fishing, and Mauricio Lopez and his dad. Mauricio runs the Clemente. He's the captain. Him and his dads are huge Friedman Adventures fans. So Mauricio and your dad, thank you so very much. We couldn't do it without each and every one of you. And in the beginning of the show today, you saw some kids' photos. Albert Ponce and his lovely wife, Crystal. Man, it was good to spend a few moments before they departed. I had to go do something else yesterday, so Sam De La Torre from Island Fishing Tackle took over for me. Sam, you are number one. We had a few more kids. Another group showed up unexpectedly, so we needed to accommodate them, and I looked at Sam like, uh-oh, you know, poor Sam, and he's like, hey, I got this. It's about the kids. It's all about the kids. So Sam did a great thing. But back to Albert. His family and his wife are such great, lovely people. When they go to Mexico, they load up their car and distribute lots of stuff. It was so nice spending time, and they sent me all those lovely photos of their kids having such a great time on the Clemente yesterday. They said it was fabulous. Albert, Crystal, your whole family, you are really special. And Ernie Montano got in touch with me. Ernie's watching the show every single day. He was referencing a time when we met back in the 80s at the Fred Hall show. He's a great guy. Another guy who has a lumber company. He has sent plywood and helped to build or helped to continue refurbishing an orphanage in Mexicali. So this is the kind of people that we have in the Friedman Adventures family. Incidentally, Ernie asked me to try a new mic today. He didn't like so much the sound of the ocean and the birds. Some of you do like it. I'm going to put it up to a vote. Do you want to hear my voice more, or do you want to hear my voice and all the ambient sounds? That's up to you. Just let me know. But I want to say hi to Ernie also. All right, time to get into the fishing. The Bluefin tuna situation down there in Ensenada, they're still getting them. It's not every single day, but they're trolling those Mad Mac lures around, and they do pretty darn good down there in Incy. And I'll tell you, they are booked up, many of the Pongero friends of mine. It's really been good. So most of those guys are rigged up for you, but if you're bringing your own gear, don't troll with anything less than a 200-pound leader on those Mad Max. It's just such a good idea. In case you hook a really big fish, in case it gets to the leader, they have teeth, they'll chew through it. The longer you're on them, the more likely that is to occur. So keep that in mind when you're fishing for those BFTs down there in the Ensenada region. Really good fishing at times, as they've had fish 8, 10, 12, 6 miles outside of Todos Santos. It's pretty close for those guys, and they're getting some daytime fish rolling up on some foamers also. So when you're doing that, you want to be throwing a popper type lure. That works really good. And Daiwa makes all these spinning reels that can handle bluefin tuna, give you 40 pounds of drag, which is the kind of drag that'll get you pulled overboard. It's so tight. So once again, check out Daiwa's extensive spinning reel collection. That's the only way to fish poppers. It is a lot of fun, and the visual when you see that fish come up out of the water is really, really good. Now, Grant Cummings is a private boater who seems to focus more on the kids on board having a good time. He fished very close to San Diego yesterday, maybe 30 miles, 40 miles, like in that range, not even quite that far. And he found some yellowfin tuna, copious amounts of dorado that he wasn't interested in, and they weren't biting that well, but saw a lot of flatheads on the kelps down there and yellows, but he caught some yellowfin tuna. I had a few yellowfin tuna, a bluefin tuna. Nice shot for Grant and the kids on board. And I guess today's theme is kids in the outdoors and having fun. It was a spectacular trip. And that yellowfin getting closer and closer, filtering in that warm water, moving up the Baja Peninsula. One of these days, someone's going to go into a stop and nail out some really good stuff. So let's switch to kelp patties, which I don't know how to say this. This is it. This is as good as it gets. It's not only limits of yellows on the kelps for many boats. You can miss. You don't find the right kelp, you can miss. But most of us are not only getting limits, but the grade of yellowtail seems to get better and better every single day. It's beautiful. A lot of 8 to 15 pound, a lot of 20 plus pound fish on the kelps right now. So that is good. In fact, the Old Glory here this morning's already rolled up on a scrap. I mean, a piece of kelp that's so small that a lot of guys would drive by it and they had like 40 yellows off that thing. So they are loading up down there, and the dorado bite is just hit and miss, a couple here and there. Any day now, you're going to see somebody crank out 100 dorado on one of the sports down there in San Diego as the kelps and the warm water keep moving tropical and subtropical fish up our way. Grande limits of yellowtail fishing offshore. Really good fishing. Excellent bite going on for many of the boats. In fact, the San Diego, we'll talk about his Coronado Island experience in a moment. He's done with the Coronado Islands offshore. No more passports. Malihini on Friday, no passports required. You'll fish with the Friedman Adventures family, and there's so many great people on that trip. Have a few spots left. Join us this Friday on the Malihini. We are offshore, no passports required. Yellows and dorado and maybe even a yellowfin tuna on the troll. Let's keep our fingers crossed. We've had some really excellent fishing with Bill and looking forward to this Friday for sure. So 30-pound fluorocarbon is the way to get it done when you're fishing this fish on the kelp patties. A good hot bait, and get it out there. Don't goof around. When the captain says, I got a kelp off my bow, we're running on it right now, get ready. That does not mean choose your bait before he slides on the kelp. Your timing has got to be right. So he slides on the kelp, and when it's time to make a cast, you've got a good hot bait. You've already been there at the bait well. You've been surveying the baits. You've been looking for that hot bait. You've got it in your crosshairs, looking at it. You know the bait you're going to take and then make a cast with, and then some other schmuck comes up and takes your bait. No, just kidding. Just keep that in mind and be polite. Everything's going to work out. Fluorocarbon, 1/0 to 2/0 size hooks. Man, it's been explosive action on the kelps. Can't get much better than that. Hey, by the way, I meant to mention, long-range boys are catching yellowfin down the coast and getting them pretty good, but it's a little ways down there, and they're also nighttime bluefin tuna fishing on the heavy jigs, 300 to 500 gram jigs. They're doing really, really good down there in that neck of the woods. So really great stuff going on, no question about that. I love it. The kelps are loaded up just in time for our Friday Malihini trip. That should be exceptional. A lot of that big bonita, and I mean big, 8, 10, 12 pounds, bigger than that sometimes. They're running around and doing really a lot of fun for the kids and everybody else who wants to take advantage of them. All right, should I stop for this tractor to go by? I don't think it's going to be that noisy. Let me just pause for a moment. We'll let the tractor go by, and then I'll get back on it. There it is, the tractor picking up kelp here in Surfside, California. All right, let me get back to it, and I'll jump to islands now. Go down there to Todos Santos off the coast of Ensenada. Really good barracuda fishing going on down there. Throw a surface iron or a lucky craft, and you're sure to catch some fish. And there's been some really marvelous calico bass fishing, not only at Todos, but on the coast. It's really good right now. And then, 8 more miles, and you're in bluefin tuna zone. You got kelps holding yellows and dorado, and yellowfin tuna starting to zoom up there. Again, those kelps can be hit and miss, but for the most part, you work hard, you're going to find a kelp, and it should have some fish on it. Moving you up now to the San Clemente, Santa Barbara, those zones. Really good yellowtail fishing going on. In fact, Trevor on the Freedom's pushed up over 30 yellows, I believe, here this morning. I had a hard time hearing him, but I think he's up over 30, so that's good. Yesterday, Tino Valentine ran the boat, and he had 40 yellowtail. So that bite is pretty good. There's just this stretch of beach there at San Clemente Island, a mile or two, where they're fishing. And some days you get them, some days you don't. And the sea lions are a real pain in the neck, but it's been good there so far this morning. Fly line bait, fluorocarbon, same stuff. Choose a good hot bait. That's really a good way to make it happen. Thunderbird went off and tried something different, and he ended up with 14 yellowtail, but big grade on the T-bird. Most of those fish 20 and over, had some fish to 30. Fly line sheep's head taken on board the Thunderbird. One of those rare catches. You don't do that every single day, a fly line sheep's head. So pretty darn interesting, no question about it. And Catalina Island, pretty hit and miss. Some decent, okay bonita fishing, short calico bass. Every once in a while, pretty good. Gale Force had 50 nice bass yesterday. There's yellowtail being caught over there, not a lot. And sea bass, real spotty now, occasional halibut. And so the weather there, absolutely beautiful at Catalina Island. Can't get any more gorgeous than it is right now. Fishing is hit and miss, but you'll have a lovely weather day, that is for sure. And you would think that at some point in time we're going to get a big time yellow bite for the Pursuit or the Enterprise or any of the boats that are running over there and fishing there. Channel Islands white sea bass bite can be hit and miss, and not all the time is it really biting, but there still are some really good, huge scores going on up there. The Endeavor has been in on that. Aloha Spirit has had great days lately. It's been spottier, not all that wide open. Mirage with huge days. 10-ounce torpedo, dropper loop. I like fluorocarbon, a 50, 60 size hook. Also be ready to fish if you get into the shallows with a sliding egg sinker, or as Steve Bermudez likes to do, he'll fish a heavier lead head, cast it out as far as you can, and then slowly bring it back, covering more ground and catching more sea bass. And did I skip over the Coronado Islands? Man, I'll tell you, I am really slipping up. That tractor, I'm blaming him. He won't be back until the end of the report. Coronado Islands, fabulous fishing. I mentioned that the San Diego is going offshore now. That is only because the offshore scene is so darn good. San Diego had 30 yellows at the islands. His best score, incidentally, at the island this year, maybe the best one for a sport boat. I'm not sure on that. 106 yellowtail on a 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. trip. Really good signal over there. On board the Relentless yesterday, they had some good fishing. John Granados, he was on board the Relentless. He went 0 for 4 on the yellows. Sea lions there can be a pain in the neck also, but he said it really was a ton of action, a lot of fun. You got barracuda and bass, and you got a copious amounts of yellows at the islands right now. It's really good fishing going on in that neck of the woods. So whether you're going to the islands where you do need a passport or you're offshore, it's pretty darn good shooting right now. Incidentally, John Granados from Hemet, California, graces our video cover here today. All right, and then the coastline, as I mentioned, down there in Ensenada, good calico bass fishing over there by La Bufador and Punabanda region. It's been really excellent fishing going on there. Up and down here, we are dealing with poor conditions at times, and it's hard to believe, but here it is, middle of July. Past that, and we're still, some guys catching sculpin. I mean, it's great providing all that table fare, and especially when you have novice anglers, it's good. But you would think, you know, hey, it should be barracuda, it should be bass, it should be all of that, and it is not in many of the cases. Some guys up and down the coast, San Diego, Dana, all those areas are seeing evidence of it, but it has yet to settle and really bite. Here in the Long Beach area, we're thinking, and you can see how gorgeous it is, that we're going to get a gar bite one of these days. Surface iron on the barracuda is by far the best way to make it happen. Moving you up there on the Island Spirit, they had a really tough morning, picking away at a couple of whitefish and bass yesterday out of Ventura Harbor sport fishing, but they tried a new area, and lo and behold, here's a bunch of gar that wanted to bite. They finished up with 70 barracuda up there on board the Island Spirit. Nothing wrong with that kind of a score on the surf. There's some very good Corvina fishing going on right now. Find the right zone. You know, sometimes those fish hang near structure like piers. You're seeing them here in the Seal Beach Pier, a lot of them. Topaz Rock Jetty, Redondo Pier. Those Corvina are right there. You don't have to make a long cast. You can see them before you catch them. So there's that visual kind of hunting game that goes on with a good pair of polarized glasses. It's really fun fishing. There's also yellowfin croaker and spotfin croaker and a lot of other species, including halibut, as we just wind up another grunion run. Bolsa Chica has been very good for yellowfin croaker on the tide. Remember, a couple hours before the high till a couple hours after is a good window, but when you're fishing corvina and even halibut, low tide is okay. So it's great to be with you all as always. I don't think my voice almost cracked, but it didn't quite get there. I want to thank everybody who was down there at Dana Wharf Sport Fishing. Albert, Crystal, their lovely family, Mauricio and his dad. Mauricio runs the Clemente. That meant a lot to me when he told me, my dad and I never miss a show. We watch you all the time. That really meant a lot. Mauricio, thank you so much. Donna, my good friend down there at Dana Wharf, who runs such a professional operation, does such a great job. Friends of Rollo and everybody else. And one more thing, I lied about that tractor coming through one more time. So without any further ado, I wish you all a beautiful start to your week here on Monday. And of course, I'll be back with lots more. And did you like today's mic better? Or do you like to hear more of the sounds in the background? Place and cast your vote now on our YouTube channel. Thanks, everybody. Have a great one. Always great to spend time with you.